How's everybody doing today? Mm, Some connecting to audio. Technology is awesome. And then you have these pop-ups during meetings, right? There's like 17 pop-ups. But we are here. We're streaming live. I've got Joanne Toller, specialist here with me. And hi, I'm David. I'm the CEO of Wow Digital. And we're here today to talk about the future of fundraising. It's definitely in the digital realm, given all the massive shifts in technology that's happened over the last year, let alone the last 3 4 years. So, um,
Yeah.
Joanne, you want to introduce yourself a little bit? But
Yeah,
go for it.
no, I know I've sort of know a lot of you. I know you guys from our community and David and I love to geek out on this stuff. We get talking about technology and anything in the digital space and we could just go on for hours. So David approached me and said, "Do you want to do a live?" And I said, "Yes. That sounds like a fantastic idea." Perfect, especially when we get into some of the trends. So some of the trends, one being AI, we're gonna dive into that quite a bit. But yeah, I'm super excited.
Hmm. I just got a notice here that you're actually muted.
I'm muted. What?
Well, I can hear you. You're okay. For some reason, you're muted. That's
Oh,
bizarro. What I'll do for anybody who's interested in joining, uh, drop the Zoom link in here.
okay. Connie says she can hear me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Aaron
Okay.
is Facebook land, and he can hear me, but he can't hear you. So for anybody who's interested in Facebook, there's the link there for the Zoom if you want to jump in over here as well. Happy to host you over here in our Zoom room also. Uh, yeah, bizarre,
Okay.
but we are doing this. We publish it again here. We've got a local recording,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
I
We're
think
gonna get that out.
I think this is the second time streaming with the software. A few technology, I guess, maybe to work out.
Okay. Well, it's good we're talking about tech then today.
Absolutely, right, for
Mm.
sure, for sure. Cool. So, we are asking people for the last couple of weeks or whatnot if they have any questions to submit them and send them in to us. And I'm cutting it out apparently
Yeah, a little bit on my side too.
a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
How about now? Is this better? You can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you
Yeah.
great now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So, Joanne, were there any questions or topics that came through from your list?
No, just the usual. What are the trends going to be? What should we be keeping an eye out for? And what technology is out there? Things like that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. I think definitely AI is one of the bigger things that we need to be thinking about and talking about. And there's lots of different platforms. So, how can we actually leverage AI to save us a bit of time and effort? I mean, even if you can save a half hour a week, right? Then that's worth investigating because a half hour a week, right? You're looking at what, 20 hours ish over the course of a year. It's not insignificant.
Now, on average, AI saves me 5 hours a week in my work. I mean, that's quite substantial.
Yeah. So, like, if we think about it from a raising perspective, right? What can we do, and how can we leverage AI? And I guess before we really get into that idea, that topic, what I did want to mention is we need to be a little bit careful when we're using AI in our businesses, right? Like Joanne and I are doing, but also in the nonprofit space. We don't want to give it. I'm still very weary how the data is being used, right? So we don't want to take a donor list and upload it, right? We want to make sure that we're anonymizing the data that's going in. So sure, you can take a list of donations and you can give people maybe an ID number. instead of having their name, remove their email, phone number, address, last four digits of credit card numbers. You want to scrub all of that. But then you can take basically a CSV file in a spreadsheet and put it into AI and ask it to run analysis, right? There's very simple formulas you can do in Excel or Google Sheets that would be like, what's the average donation? Or if you're using any of the donation platforms, right? They can probably give you that data pretty easily. But maybe you want to analyze times of year where more donations are coming in than others, right? Or multiple donations from a specific individual or corporation over the course of the last 2 years or the last 5 years, right? So you can perform those tasks with the AI tools relatively quickly, saving you time from formulas, saving you time from manually trying to sort things out, so you can get a little bit higher level thinking about the donations and frequency and time of year.
Yeah, and that fits with so data-driven decisions and data analytics, that's been on the list the last few years in terms of what the trends are. And there's going to be an even bigger push, I think, now going forward because of AI and because of the predictive capabilities within AI. So I'm still cutting in and out. No, you're
No, I'm
not.
asking,
Sorry, that
am I
distracted
still
me.
continuing? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, no. So that's where I see data um, going from a trend to a super trend now in the next couple of years because of the ability to really take large amounts of data and keeping privacy and data security in mind, plugging it into things like even Chat GPT. And there's new platforms that are continually coming onto the scene that will help us do this better. Both David and I follow some different AI gurus that are always talking about all of the new stuff that's coming out so that we can keep an eye on what's coming out and how can we take that and use it in the nonprofit sector.
And that's
Um,
that's it, right? So like it's our time. We need to invest time. That's really part of what the issue is, and having that what I'm going to call like playtime to be able to go, oh, like ChatGPT. I haven't had time. I've heard a lot about this. You know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to set up a free account and just run it through and see what can I do. I mean, some of the ways that we use it over here, we use it for brainstorming. So if we're like, all right, we have this idea for a topic, maybe we want to do a live stream about, fundraising, right? What are some topics that we can talk about? Or, you know what? I got this really nasty email from a donor who's disappointed about because they were double billed or something like that. Can you put together a response that's nice and friendly for me to send back so I don't have to, right? You don't have to spend the time really thinking about how to wordsmith it or anything. And you can use that as like a 80% foundation for what your email would actually be. So there's lots of different ways that you can leverage it.
Yeah. I'm actually going to share a personal story. There's a lot of people here that subscribe to our email list. And I had been using ChatGPT to come up with some ideas around, I wanted to talk about how it's hard to how to fundraise unless people have heard of you and how the two cycle together. And it came up with this fundable and findable. Well, it turns out that another fellow who I admire and I follow uses those terms. So I had to yesterday send out an apology that I didn't. I took what it spit out, and I'm the one who preaches all the time about do your fact checking because AI can plagiarize, and I didn't do that myself. And then I had to be very humbled by it that I who talk about having an AI policy and humanizing everything made that mistake.
You know, it's funny about what or it's funny what I'm about to say, which is, we're all human, right?
Yeah.
We all make mistakes, and the AI was created by human. I believe a lot of it was. I think there's a good chunk of it that was actually generated by AI to improve AI, but nothing is fallible. Like everything's fallible, right? So we need to double check whenever I run. A prompt in ChatGPT or Perplexity or DALI or any of those other ones, I ask it, one, if I'm asking it to do some research, like, hey, I need some stats around this, give me the actual sources that you're citing, and then I go to those and I review them. Is this in the right context? Because sometimes you can get a really cool stat. I mean, I believe this happens in politics probably all the time, but you can skew it one way or the other based on what you want. And I think it's important to be to not be disingenuous with how you're reporting or what you're talking about, and you want to be accurate with the information. So always, yeah, the double checking, asking it to give you the sources, and if it can't, I've caught myself going, well, where did you get this from? Did you make it up? Right? And just asking it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And it'll pull different pieces and create its own sources. And for anyone who hasn't heard of Perplexity, it is a wonderful, wonderful platform that, yeah, I know we both use it a lot. That you can ask questions like donor research. This is a great tool for donor research. I can take a donor's name, a company name, a grant foundation, and ask it, tell me more about this organization or this person, and it'll spit out all their information that it can find on the internet, plus the sources. It does give you the sources. And then I've used it to drill down and say, all right, well, based on the information that's out there, what's the average gift size? What would be a reasonable gift amount? It's a very, very powerful tool. Mm.
Yeah, if you're going after a major donor, right? You can definitely do some background research there very, very easily. You could just go what is it, perplexity.ai, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? You can set up a free account. I would urge anybody that's watching this, if it's one of you that are sitting here with us in Zoom or streaming it, um, go set up an account and just type in your own name. Just be like, who is Brenda McCraw, right? McGraw, sorry, McGaw. Third time's a charm there. But just put in your name and see what it can find out about you. And if it can find that out about you, what can it find out about corporate sponsor you're going after or similar like organizations to yours? And you can ask it, like, what did this organization do in 2023 for their Giving Tuesday campaign, right? We're all in the for good, let's do better together kind of vibe zone mentality sector. But ultimately, there's only so many dollars in the stratosphere that exists for donations that people are willing to separate. So we need to see similar like organizations and think about them, even though we're all here to do better and to do good for the world, but they are technically competitors because that dollar that you can get that they can't get, right, that will help you further your cause. And, not that we want to steal money from them because that's not really it, but how can we do more for ourselves to improve the impact that we can have as an organization?
Very true. I have another super cool AI tool that goes with a trend. So LinkedIn has been booming lately. I mean, I love LinkedIn for prospect research, connecting with the decision makers at companies. And there is an AI tool that I use called Comment Generator, and they've now started a LinkedIn one so that because LinkedIn changed its algorithm last year, and it's now based, like many of the other algorithms, on closest connection. So it wants to see a lot of interactions. It wants to see you liking, commenting, and the more you're liking and commenting on posts, the more you're going to show up in the other person's feed. And I always get stuck on comments because I do it first thing in the morning as I'm having my morning coffee. So not inspired. So how am I going to take this post and what's a good comment? So this generator will give you a sample comment that you can put on there and then edit and humanize and make it your own. It just gives me that little extra kind of boost in terms of what I can say. I love this one. Maybe we'll send out too a list of some of the AIs that we're mentioning in an email after the live. If that'd
Yeah,
be a good idea.
it's very cool being able to have a platform that allows you to do a little bit of outreach to game using AI to game another AI and
Yeah.
algorithm. That's a really interesting concept there, for sure. There's lots of tools out there that you can use. I mean, LinkedIn has their own premium platform for being able to search and find, but a lot of that is very manual. To go into the LinkedIn Premium and run searches and find people and organizations. So there's a tool that I use called Closely HQ,
Oh,
which you can go in even if you don't have a premium account. You can go in and you can run a search, and then you can take that search URL and put that into um, Closely, and then you can run a campaign against the people that show up in that search, in that LinkedIn search. So it's kind of neat because what I found is we spent a bunch of money on meta ads, so ads in Instagram and Facebook. And when we targeted a keyword like charity or fundraising or giving or things like that, the problem that we experienced is there's a lot of people that donate to a cause. They don't necessarily work at a nonprofit. So how can we then identify, all right, these are the right people for us to be talking to from a agency perspective, right? Whereas in LinkedIn, you can target specific sectors, job titles, all that type of stuff. So if you're going after corporate sponsors, I don't know why I'm talking about corporate sponsors a whole bunch, but I'm talking about corporate. So if you want to go after like an organization, right, you can drill down and try to find, who's the senior VP of partnerships or the CEO or the founder that you can try to connect with.
that's very cool because that's one thing that I've been seeing a lot of this year is that those Facebook ads are not performing like they used to be. I used to do a lot of donate ads. This time of year, I'd be running super powerful campaigns on social media with donate buttons and like actually running ad campaigns for them, and they're not performing as well as they did a number of years ago. Yeah. And so that extra layer of targeting may help. I'm gonna have to test that. Mm,
Right? Like, how can we do better with less effort,
yeah.
right? Not no effort, because nothing is no effort, right? But what can we do to save ourselves that bit of time? And I think that's where technology comes in, right? So if we were going to go back 25 years or 30 years or even 10 years, a lot of people had lists in spreadsheets for email, and you would go and you would do some kind of email merge type thing. And certainly over the last decade, CRMs, email platforms, MailChimp, Constant Contact, Campaign Monitor, right? Those have really taken off a lot more over the last 10 years. And the barrier to entry is really low to be able to implement those type of platforms. And then along comes all these donation platforms, right? The last 4 or 5 years has been a huge explosion in these, and some of them have some smart technology in it to allow you to target people. Get this, Joanne, ready? You can target them months before they typically make a donation to your organization, right? So if you know, okay, this person, Giving Tuesday is coming up December 3rd, right? This person always donates December 3rd. You can start hitting them with messages in September to build your case for support so that they understand the impact that their dollar has, so that they'd be willing to donate again or donate a bit more. And not only that, some of these platforms have some functionality in it that lets you go, okay, this person donated $20. We want to have all donations when they come to that donation page be 10% higher than what they donated last time as the default values. So it show like 22, 50, 100, 200 other, so they can still put in 20, right? It's not forcing them to pay more. But they're like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I think I donated about that last year. And then right off the bat there, you've got 10, 15, 20% more in donations than you did previously.
Yeah. Yeah. One of our YouTube sponsors is Click and Pledge, and they have a super cool feature that allows you to, it recognizes when somebody had donated $100 before, and then the suggested amounts the next time they go back to that page it starts at say 150. So has that AI baked into it that can kind of help move a donor up to the next level.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what, I guess, Joanne, from your side, what are you seeing as trends in AI with any of the clients that you're working with? Are there any?
I think yeah, no, well, I think the biggest trend is that they're using it now. They're using it to help write their materials. They're using it to help write captions in social media, generate ideas for content, to help write blogs for their websites, to write website content. A lot are using it, and then some are also getting creative in terms of the imagery and the graphics they're using and the audio that they're putting out. They're using all of the different features anywhere they can. And I'm really proud of our sector. We seem to we're slow to adopt. You and I had this conversation before about how we as a sector can be very slow to adopt all these new things. But I'm seeing so many embrace AI and start using it because time and resources is such an issue for us. We are overworked and underpaid, right, folks? It's a fact. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, some of the folks that are
So
here with us, their heads are shaking. They're like, "Yep,
yeah,
yep,
yeah, yeah.
totally hear you." That's exactly it, right? I worked in nonprofits for close to 16 years, and there's 47 hats that everybody's wearing any minute of the day, and
Yeah.
in comes the afternoon, and there's a fire that you have to put out too, right? So how do we how do we accomplish everything that needs to be accomplished? How do we
Well,
prioritize?
and it
I
helps us
forget the name.
upskill.
I forget the name of the AI system, but there's a calendaring AI platform that will, when you have something you need to work on, you can put it in there and it'll find the optimal spot in your calendar to put in like a block for it. So you don't even have to do that. And another, I guess, pro tip for actually getting stuff done. One of my mentors, Brent Weaver, he in a session was talking about like don't open up your calendar to put something in. We use Calendly for booking. So anybody that can come book a consult, this, that, whatever. I've got, I think, 17 or 18 different calendars for like personal, for work, for internal meetings, for client meetings, all that kind of stuff. And what I found before I heard about that, what I found was I would open up my calendar and I would move things around. I'm like, no, 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 I had these things here for a reason. So I'm using my own Calendly link to book time in my own schedule so I don't have to like move
Yeah.
things around. So everything still ends up getting done when I need it to get done, when I intended to make it.
And then you have people that are still very old fashioned like me and like write it down on paper. I do use all the tools, but I always end up going back to the paper. Maybe I'm slow to adopt.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who's very digital, I've got a Kanban board on my desk here. I maybe I shouldn't have shown that. Maybe that gives a little bit too much insight into me. But yeah, there's some things that I tactile, like this board on the wall behind me for content scheduling. We digitize that after, but there's some things that for me have to be touch, feel instead of digital.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about you? The question back at you. What are you seeing in terms of the trends with AI in the nonprofit sector?
Um, I think the probably the biggest trend is just I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start, right? And the reality is I think a lot of people are worried about AI taking their jobs, right?
Hmm?
AI is going to take my job. They're not going to need me anymore. I don't believe that. I think the reality, yes, there will be a shift in some work, right? But I think the reality is that people that are using AI are going to take your job. Not AI itself will take your job because it's enabling, it's super empowering people to do more with less time and accomplish more. So I think there's a if you were to sit down and over the course of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, just make a list of high level what it is that you're working on, right? So I'm doing email with prospects. I'm reviewing our CRM. I'm reviewing our donor database. I'm creating messaging for an email. I'm creating a news release. I'm creating a blog post. I'm working on social media graphics, like whatever those tasks are that you're working on. Not very specific, but again, just kind of general. that would probably give you really good insight, at least at a minimum of a 2 week period, to extrapolate to go, okay, over the course of a month or a quarter or 6 months, this is the type of work that I'm actually really doing. There is an AI for that. I think there's a website that's like there's an AI for that, or it's something kind of like that where you can go and you can search for AI tools that can do this type of stuff, right? So, for example, if you are doing a lot of video for social, for example, you can take that video and there's a platform out there, Content Fries, I think, where it'll take the video and split it into multiple segments for you, and you don't have to really think about it, right? So if there are tools out there that allow you to do things faster, but there's also automations, right? So a lot of our clients, what we end up doing for them is we'll once we build the website for them, we'll connect that with Zapier to their email marketing tool. So when they go and post a new news release or a blog article or something like that, it'll automatically create a campaign in their email tool, so that they don't have to spend the time copying and pasting and doing that kind of like grunt work, I guess, to save them, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 minutes for that newsletter. What I always caution people though is do not have it automatically send out the email.
No.
Right, you always want to take a quick look at it, make sure the formatting's right. Also, maybe something happens and like blows up in the media, and you might not want to send that today. You might want to wait a week or two before sending that article, that topic out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, automation is something that I did notice as a trend over the last couple of years. Everything from a donor signs up for your newsletter, you have an automated message that goes out to them and welcomes them, to having that what a lot of businesses do, where, all right, so that email goes out, then a couple of weeks later, this one goes out, and having that almost like a funnel of sorts that you can set up that saves so much time, and block them out for the year. And then all I'm doing is then sending these updates every now and again. And yeah, except for the people on my email list that I work very hard at. That's not an
Yeah, we
automated
don't use
thing.
it
No.
all for everyone's.
But I do use a little bit of chat GPT. Yeah. Mm,
Yeah. I think email journey sequences are very important for organizations. So somebody makes a donation, what right away they should get their tax receipt, if you can issue tax receipts, things like that. But you don't want to just keep hitting them up with messaging for like, hey, make a donation, like somebody donates on Giving Tuesday. Do you want to hit them up like the next day right away to make end of year giving donation like 3.5 weeks later so that they can get their tax receipts? They just made the donation, right? So figuring out, obviously you might need to modify this year over year, because I think this year Giving Tuesday is like a week later than it was last year. I think
yeah, it's
typically,
December
usually it's in
3rd this
November,
year. Yeah.
right? So it's I think there's different pieces, but yeah, what does that sequence look like? Do you want it to feel like it came from a person in your organization or an automated message, right? And there's smart things you can work into the email journey sequences. So you can schedule them. So you can be like, all right, this person donated. We're going to wait an hour and a half and then send them a thank you note. But if your system's smart enough, you could say, wait an hour and a half, or wait until it's Monday to Friday between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Right? So if the email did come from Joanne, the CFO at nonprofit X or whatever, right, that it would maybe feel like it actually came from a real person, not from a automated system sequence.
Yeah. Well, and a perfect example was everyone who signed up. You got your signed up, then you got a reminder the day before, and then another one 15 minutes before. And then, well, we're gonna create a nice email with some goodies for you for after this. But yeah, with the whole giving process like that maybe the first one is a thank you. Then you send a report. Then you send an invitation. You have an event in the spring, and just automating all of that. It saves so much time. And it makes sure that you're staying in contact with donors. I just had a meeting with an organization today where I had to tell them, in all honesty, I'm terrified that we're going to do all this work and you're not going to steward your donors. You're not going to cultivate them, and that it's going to just fall down. And this sort of gives you a way to make sure that you're continuing to contact them and connect with them.
Yeah, one thing is, I keep this book on. I've got a little table here beside my desk. It's called Hooked on You. It's by Ian Harris. It's a really small, thin book, but it's really about talking about the impact you're having to make people take an interest. So it says here the genius way to make anybody read anything. So it's a really cheap book. I think it was $8 Canadian, 5 US, or something like that on Amazon. But yeah, you want to be talking about the impact you're having, right? You want to pull at the heartstrings of the donors. And even if I make a $5 donation, $5,000, right? Whatever it happens to be, I want to know how the money's being used, that you're accountable for it. And I think I just want to kind of sidetrack this conversation for a quick moment, which is I think it's okay for organizations to tell people that they have administrative overhead. I think there's been a big push over the last 20 years. Oh, we can't talk about how much money we're spending on administration, on staff, on communications, on marketing, on this, like all of those pieces. The consumer, the population is smart enough. They know that it takes money to run your organization, right? So I wouldn't shy away from that. So if there was a campaign, end of year giving, right? You know what? Yeah, 15% of this is going to go, or 40% or 8% is going to go towards the administrative costs of keeping this operation up and running so that we can continue to help people.
Very true. And one other thing I wanted to mention too, that it kind of goes along this lines, kind of, but is a big trend that I'm noticing coming out is personal branding. So that you're not just working on branding the nonprofit, but branding you as the executive director or as the fundraiser. And by doing that, you're putting out, and this is where AI can help you, is putting out thought leadership content. Maybe you're the fundraiser for an intimate partner violence organization, and putting out insightful pieces on, safe exit plans and all of that kind of stuff, and just really branding yourself alongside your nonprofit as an expert in that field. I'm seeing more and more and more of that. I'm talking to all my clients about how are we going to do that for you, and yeah. And AI can
Yeah.
help. It can help you write some of that material. It can help you create some of those images so that you can, get them on social media. And yeah. Any
I've got a
feedback on
little
that,
pro
David?
tip, I guess, for everybody here using AI or thinking of using AI. If you're not using it, you need to start. You just got to do it. Spend 10 minutes tomorrow in between meetings, at the end of your lunch, before you start your workday, whatever it happens to be. But what I like to do when I'm generating my prompts is say, okay, I need you to act as whatever it is. So I need you to act as a senior marketing executive for my organization. My organization does this, 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 this. We are called this. Then the next thing I do is I tell it I need you to produce whatever it happens to be. So it might be a case for support, right? And then I tell it, okay, I need to have the action items that we're going to be doing, blah, 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 blah. Whatever those major components are that you would want in the report. You can even use AI to say, hey, what are the major components I should have in this report, right? To kind of help kickstart that. And then the real pro tip is what I'm about to say right now, which is ask me any questions you need to in order to complete this task one at a time, and wait for my response before asking me the next question. And it will go through and it will create the logic, the reasoning, all that stuff for you. And it will ask you 2 questions. It'll ask you 50 questions, whatever it actually needs to dive in. And it's really kind of cool in that way. I was actually on a presentation yesterday with a bunch of agency owners, and we were talking about like how can we leverage AI in our agencies, and I showed this thing that I love doing. I can type pretty quick. I've been typing since like the mid '90s. Right, I took a keyboarding class in elementary school, just to date myself a little bit there. But we we've gotten to the point where voice to text is really it's like 98% accurate kind of thing, as long as you're speaking clearly and articulate what it is that you want to say in the right order, right? You have to say, comma, blah, 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 question mark, whatever, right? You have to put in the punctuation. It's not, sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. But when I ran this yesterday, I ran through a prompt with them and I did it all voice to text through my computer. And it was so much faster because I was able to just talk, and then I would maybe edit a word or two afterwards. And I found that that was also saving me a whole bunch of time.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's AI that will record your meeting as well. That will sit in on your meetings, do up your meeting minutes, and it's lovely. And we had a question here. What is the best AI tool for generating images? And with Instagram's new policy to flag AI generated content, will this impact reach? Uh,
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, I know I have my favorite has been Dolly or Midjourney. I tend to just go with Dolly because it's easier for me. What's your faves?
I'm kind of old school. I started using Adobe Photoshop in 94, 93, 94. And over the past, I think I noticed it maybe 6 months ago. In Adobe Photoshop, there's AI generation capabilities. So you can open it up and say, I need an image that's blah, 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 blah. And sometimes it's really junk. And sometimes it's really great. If you want to be a little bit geeky about it, there's a Discord channel for a platform called Midjourney, I believe. So you can put prompts in there and it will generate. And images that I've gotten from there are actually pretty solid. They're pretty great.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I just I when I'm in Chat GPT, I just put the little at symbol, Dolly, and then because quite often when I'm asking for an image, it's to go with a blog post that I've already kind of fleshed out a little bit on there, and so I can ask it. But prompts are everything. I will say this that I tend to ask for the aspect ratio that I want. I ask for the style that I want. Do I want it cartoon style, photographic, cinematic sketch, how whatever I want it to look like, and then I'll also be sure to put what I don't want it. Like I don't want hands because I don't want hands that have like 10 fingers. Yeah, yeah, and you got to play around with it sometimes, but no, and I believe Dolly is free, right? Midjourney's free. Adobe is I have Adobe. I haven't played with it, but I know that I pay quite a bit for my Adobe membership. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did that answer
the Adobe one, you have
answer
to
your
have the
question?
Creative Suite license for it.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
And then we've talked about this before. I think we've talked about this on some of the YouTubes that we've done is Suno. So I was working for a parrot rescue. They had this sweet little parrot that she had her tail amputated and she has this bird disease and she plucked out all her feathers. And so I did up these beautiful videos and images for her to put out on social media to get her adopted. And then I went into Suno AI and I typed in the prompt about what a sweet girl Bella is and how she needs a home. And it gave me a theme song that I could put with it. So Bella had her own theme song.
And so how did that?
Uh, Bella's right over here.
Oh, right. Okay. All right.
I adopted her.
Yeah, it's
It was
fun.
so
Fun.
sweet that I
My
have a
dad.
parrot now.
Yeah, I think you and I, either you were on my podcast or I was on yours, just at around the beginning of the summer, and my father had a milestone birthday this year, and I was like, all right, we're gonna write a song for his
Uh,
birthday, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna try this. Didn't like what it was. My sister came up with something much better, to like Gilligan's Island. theme song. So it was fun, but yeah, it was fun playing around with that. There's lots of different music style. Like if you're gonna do a video with B-roll footage and stuff like that, you can generate background audio. There's all kinds of open source audio platforms as well, where you can go and you can search for something that would fit that.
Yeah. Yeah. So much of this AI is free right now because it's all still very much in beta version. Chat GPT is a great example, right? It's open source. Yeah. Any other
I do have to tell
question?
you, sorry,
Oh, yeah.
the ChatGPT about a month ago released the O1 preview and the O1 mini. I don't know,
Oh.
Joanne, if you've had a chance to play around with that, but it's advanced. So when you open up ChatGPT, up in the top left, there's a drop. It says it should say 4.0 as like the default, but if you click on that, you can switch it to O1 preview, which is like mega advanced reasoning, and you can do I was on a webinar and they were writing like full Python code and stuff out of this thing, and they had no clue how to do any kind of coding, and it just created all this code and then ran it against a file that they uploaded to analyze all of the projects that they had done over the last year to figure out which ones were the most profitable, which ones took the least amount of time, and ran the data against it, and then it output a report. They created a custom agent, but they uploaded a template file, and then it produced the report in a branded template file that they could just download from the GPT. It was like, that is like some crazy ninja stuff.
Oh, I'll have to play with that. I have the mini, but it's not generating responses for me right now. So
Are you on free ChatGPT or are you on the paid one?
I think I'm free right now. Yeah.
Okay. On the paid one, did something a little bit sneaky. We shared a login for everybody in my team, so we're all using it.
Mm.
And but yeah, it's absolutely game changing. The O1 preview, it's incredibly more advanced. Um,
Okay.
so that's
We'll
interesting
try it.
where things are going with that.
Okay. Well, any other trends that you're seeing before we do questions? Because I noticed we're already at quarter after 12. Like I say,
Seriously,
you and I
we could
can get
talk for,
talking about this stuff.
yeah, we could talk for hours and hours and hours and more hours about all this for sure. There's so much to talk about it on this side. But I guess for with us here in the Zoom, are any of you using AI right now? A little bit? Not really? No? Brenda's going, yeah, kind of. All right. So what are you, Brenda, what are you it for?
Mostly idea generation. It depends. I've used it even for Excel formulas because while I'm somewhat familiar with Excel, sometimes the formulas will hang me up. So I will ask it how to solve it. I do tend to go towards it even if I have a question about an app or something that rather than me trying to search through the help of the app, I'll just go to ChatGPT and it will direct me right to the page or the information that I need. So I use it, yeah, in all sorts of different aspects. I rely on it heavily, actually.
If anybody couldn't hear the audio, that's in the live stream. Brenda's using it for brainstorming as well as Excel formulas and spreadsheet kind of connecting and stuff like that to be able to create and get access. And I've used it for that too. I've got one spreadsheet that like I run my business through. I call it the Wow Digital Mission Control, and that's got like everything and anything kind of in it. And then I have a second spreadsheet that's our KPIs and our scorecard for like our internal stuff. And I want to connect them, but I want to like pull data from this and run queries against it, and then display it here, just so my team knows, for example, for our clients, how much time they have left every month. Or at that moment, based on whatever the work is that we've done with them. So that's more for like people that are with support with us. And I couldn't figure it out. And then at the end of the month, I was like, all right, I need to just automate this. And I put in the prompts. I didn't give it access to my sheets, but I said, here's the sheet that I have. Here are all the columns. Here's the type of data that's in there. I want to pull this in and run this against it over here. And here's how I want it displayed. And the first, I think, 17, 18 times, it wasn't right. It wasn't working. It took a little bit of fixing with it to get it to do that. But and then I have like end of month reporting also, and so we're a Google shop, so we've got Google Sheets, and you can create scripts in Google Sheets. But I'm like, I don't know how to do any of this, so I ran ChatGPT prompts to get the scripts to do the end of year reporting and automate all of that. I was spending maybe 4 months at the end of every month doing that. So it's freeing up time for sure. Ooh,
And we
program
had
development and event idea generation. That's kind of cool.
yeah. And
Yeah.
Connie asked about Grammarly, and yeah, Grammarly does count. I like some of their AI generated content. However, one thing to keep in mind is that when you do a document perfect with Grammarly, you can get picked up by the AI detection software. Like it almost comes out too perfect sometimes, and it does get picked up. Because I run a program called Undetectable to make sure, because blog posts, uh, there was a thing that they didn't like AI generated content. SEO didn't like generated content. I think it does now. I think it accepts it now, but I wanted to double check. And yeah, Grammarly will get you picked up by the AI detectors. Mm.
Yeah. I'm a super fan of Grammarly, and I love that we can actually customize it. So we can put in words that, like, I'm in Canada. I want to spell color with a U, right? There's things like that I want it to do, and we use it all the time. Everybody in my team has it, so that they can make sure that everything makes sense that they're sending out. Because sometimes we'll write a sentence and it's it when you reread it, it's a little bit weird, but Grammarly just picks it up.
Yeah,
So yeah, I
I have
totally count that
dyslexia, and
as it. Yeah.
it changed my life. Yeah, it has. Like I don't. But yeah, before I had to have a proofreader, and now I don't. So there still will be typos in my content, by the way, guys. It's just a dyslexia thing, but it really helps.
Yeah. Software is here to make our lives easier. And don't be scared of playing with it. I really do think the biggest barrier for anybody period, but specifically in the nonprofit space, is finding the time to be able to test, to play, to do something with it so that you can leverage it in a way that'll be easy for you, right? So you gotta find the time. I would encourage everybody, like, even if it's 2 weeks from now, find a half an hour, right? Do not move that block of time. Put it in your calendar. Don't move it, right? Figure out like the day time to play with it, and give yourself the freedom to go, you know what? I am going to dedicate some time to this because it is something that's here. I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Like when the internet came out, I think there were an old colleague of mine who was studying graphic design. His professor told him, "Oh, the internet's just a fad." Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I heard the same thing with websites, nonprofit websites. Back when I started, there was 1994 that or if nonprofits were still considering, should we get a website? Should we not get a website? Yeah, and they used to cost thousands of dollars back then, and then you'd be tied to this company that you couldn't do any edits. And look at it now. Yeah, it's changed so much.
Yeah. There are AI tools and platforms out there to generate a website for you. I've played with a handful of them. It basically, from what I've seen with it, it feels like a template that they just change a couple colors on and put, maybe the text itself is customized, but I don't know any nonprofit that would benefit from a website that was created by an AI
Yeah, I
platform. There's other platforms out there, Wix, Squarespace, Mighty MPO, etc., that you can go to that you can get a website really quickly and easily using a template, but it doesn't feel so much like a template.
yeah.
So just be a little bit weary as well, right? You want something that fits your style and really showcase organization in the best light possible.
Yeah, websites and videos still have a ways to go yet before we're where we want them. Yeah, no, I agree. Websites just aren't there yet. And I'm still have not found a good platform to generate amazing B-roll video yet. Hmm.
Yeah, that's it's one of those things. B-roll footage, you sometimes you just gotta go and get the stock footage, or just go and shoot some stuff yourself. I think a lot of people are very hesitant to just like grab their phones and do something with it. I don't believe that anybody is expecting Hollywood production quality from nonprofits,
No, no, no. And I
right?
think if you did have Hollywood quality production, you would have donors saying, "Why did you spend so much money on that?" Hmm. Yeah.
Right. You gotta know your audience. You have to know who you're trying to talk to. You have to understand the uh, psychographics of the individual that you're connecting with to try to get them to care about your cause, right? And if you don't know what psychographics is, my podcast episode 16, so nonprofit digital success podcast episode 16, we talk about psychographics, or just go to Perplexity and search what is psychographics and why should my nonprofit care about it, right? And it
Yeah.
will give you all the reasoning and rationale around that. One of the ways that you can use that. So you can use it to build avatars or personas. I don't know whatever you want to call it. But like in the business world, there are um, there's your ideal customer, right? So like Nike or Red Bull or McDonald's, right? Whether you like those companies or not doesn't really matter, but they really know who their ideal customer is. In the nonprofit world, we need to know who's your ideal customer, but the customer is a little bit different, right? The customer is who's your donor, who are your volunteers, who are the people that are going to come to work for you, who's your board of directors, who are the people that are coming to be part of your programs or your services that you have, who's going to come and buy something from you. Maybe you're a nonprofit that sells something, right? And what is it that they care about? And so you can use the AI platforms to dig into that.
You know, I have done that where I've gone through and I've taken our case and everything that I've written about this nonprofit, thrown it into ChatGPT and asked it to create a donor persona for me for a high-level donor, mid-level donor, small donor, and I'm surprised. It does a pretty good job of coming up with those psychographics. Those what motivates them, what do they do in their free time, what inspires them, what really makes them tick. And yeah, I've been pretty pleased with it because a few of the nonprofits that I've had to use it for, they don't have that donor data for me to go back into. They're new nonprofits, so we had to kind of pull it out of the air for now, but it did a really good job. Mm.
Right? I think AI can get us to maybe 75, 80, 85% of the way there. And then it's up to the human intelligence, the HI,
Mhm.
right? To be able to take it to the finish and make sure that everything's accurate. Look, if you have a project and you open up ChatGPT or whatever platform you want, there's a whole bunch of them out there. And you're like, all right, I need a project charter for this. I want to start on this date. It needs to be done by this date. These are the 8 things that it needs to cover. It can create that document for you. But maybe there's some deliverables in that project charter that you're like, I don't want to do that. Right? If you just take it, copy, paste it, give it to the board for approval, you're kind of stuck at that point, right? You have to do those things, but you need to review, you need to make sure it makes sense. You need to make sure, for example, that timelines match up and all that type of stuff. So yeah, it'll get you most of the way, but it's definitely not perfect, but it's
Yep.
certainly getting close.
Yep. Oh. Does anyone have any questions? We got about 5 minutes left. Gotta have some questions. We've got David captive here. So you guys hear from me all the time. Oh,
Look, if anybody wants, I'm happy to hop on a one-on-one at some point as well and just like talk about how you can use tech in some way, not to try to sell you any services or any software or anything like that, but just to like I my goal is to empower 5,000 nonprofits to improve the lives of 10 million people through the use of technology, right? So we've got some major national organizations as clients. We have some small little ones as well, and we have in between. But if anybody listens to this episode, this broadcast, this stream, we're probably going to cut this into maybe a couple social clips or something, whatever, right? But if you can walk away from this with one little bit of information or insight that does something, then you're helping me get closer to my goal. So thank you. I appreciate everybody in terms of coming and being here and submitting the questions that you've had. But yeah, always happy to connect with people for sure.
yeah. And I'm happy too, David, because you are Canadian, which technically I'm Canadian too. I just happen to be in Arizona. But I sent out a survey a while ago, and that was one of the comments is that my content tends to be more American skewed. So it's lovely to have a fellow Canadian talking about Canada, even though this works in the US too. Yeah. Oh, what
Some fun music.
we've got one here. What has the response been using AI for use with grants? That's a good one. Yes, that's actually been great. I always take my case and then create a GPT, and then the questions that the grantor asked me, I will ask Chat GPT based on my case, like so the priming that I've done to answer those questions, and then obviously humanize it. But because some of those grant applications ask the most convoluted questions. That I do not understand. Maybe AI can make some sense out of this, but yeah, no, it definitely cuts down on that. Cuts down on that workload. Mm.
Something else that I would mention that's really neat about ChatGPT is you can take a document and you can upload it. So you can take your annual report, for example, from last year, and you can upload it. You can give it URLs. You can say, here's 3 relevant news releases or product service pages that we have, etc., etc. I want you to analyze these. We are applying for a grant. The grant is from this organization. It's between, I don't know, $20,000 to $100,000. The money is going to be used for helping local communities. I have a series of questions that I need support from you as a senior grant writer, right? You need to tell it who the role is that you want it to fill, or what the role is that you want it to fill. And here's the first question. Ask me any questions that you need after reviewing all this stuff I gave you to be able to give me a foundation that I can use for the answer to this question.
Yep. Yeah, that little paper
So
clip.
it does take a
I
little
love
bit of
that
back.
little paper clip.
It does take a little bit back and forth with it to get something out of it that's really good, that's helpful. But you don't have to sit there for hours, like feeling really stressed out.
Oh. My favorite prompt, I think, in the whole world is please critique this based on
Mm,
your experience as give it the job. But yeah, oh, I love that one. Mm.
that's a good one. I actually haven't tried that one. I will. So that's a good one, Joanne. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you took your application and put it in and said you are the granting authority, right? What room for improvement do you see in this? right? Or what do you expect the chances are that we would get this grant? It'll give you something about, well, we can't tell you because it depends on the number of applications that were received and blah 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 blah, right? Just like I can't give you the winning lottery numbers, although that would be really cool. But leveraging it in a way that will give you an edge, right?
Yeah. Hey, anything else? Okay.
Look, if you don't have any questions now, it's okay, right? You can always send them along. Happy to connect. We can always do another live stream. Hopefully, we can figure out the audio piece for the YouTube streaming. Might switch platforms. I know I've got two people in my team that are like, you can't be using this software anymore. I'm like, but it's so easy. But apparently it's not, because nobody can hear Joanne in the YouTube feed or the Facebook feed. So we do have a recording, so we will publish that for everybody later on. But yeah, this was really great. I think it's pretty obvious that we could probably talk for another week through all this. So if any questions come up, if anybody has anything, absolutely feel free to be in touch for sure.
Well, and again, David and I will put together our list of our favorite AI tools and send that out to you. And we also have some goodies for you guys for participating. So I will send that out here in the next few days, along with the link to the recording, if you guys want to share it with anyone and on your team. And yeah, it was lovely to see some of you face to face. That's always nice.
Yeah. I hope everybody has thank you so much for coming, joining, streaming, whether it's now or in the future at some point, because we will have this up online. But yeah, my go-to line at the end of my podcast is keep on being successful. So I hope all of you keep on being successful.
Hey, mine is always see you next week. So hopefully I see you all next week. All right. Thanks, David.
No problem. No problem. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Is that everyone off the feed now?
Yeah,
Yes.
and I've ended the broadcast.
Oh, I can't hear you, David. Muted.